Take me to the water. I am not free, but I am sorry.
Welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell, Parabolic SAR, Parabolic Stop and Reverse. I want to try to convince you today to at least consider the Parabolic SAR as a trend or momentum indicator, maybe a good alternative to other momentum indicators such as moving averages, RSI, stochastics, MACD, things like that. So as you can see on the screen, I have the candlesticks on the chart, and these are 1 minute candlesticks for Apple stock, although everything I'm saying today could be used with pretty much any time frame, such as 2 minute candles, 3, 5 minute, hourly candles, daily candles, whatever it is. These little dots, the Parabolic SAR indicator, should adjust to the time frame of the candles. So you see the candles here, and then you see a bunch of what look like little blue dots. Although if you blow them up, if you make them bigger, which I will do now, as you can see, they are not really dots. They are plus signs, right? I'll make them even bigger. So there you go, right? But I'll call them dots because that's what they look like when they're small enough. All right, but you can adjust the size, at least on this website. All right, so the main idea, and I made a Parabolic SAR video already with the basics, but just to recap, when the candles are above the dots, that is considered bullish, a bullish trend, okay, momentum to the upside, basically. And then they will suddenly flip, as you can see. The candles will flip all of a sudden from being above the dots to suddenly below the dots, and that is bearish momentum, a bearish trend to the downside, okay? And so it really is stop and reverse. It stops being below, the candles stop being below the dots, and then suddenly it reverses and they're above the dots. And then all of a sudden it stops and reverses, and then the candles are below the dots again. And so on and so forth. So it really is abrupt the way it switches. But the idea is, I would recommend using this with other indicators. Don't just go long when the candles are above the dots and then sell when they're below the dots. I mean, you could. It actually worked out pretty well on this chart. I mean, if you bought here, this candle was above the dot, right? And then you stayed in there, you would have made a profit from, let's say, here to here. And then again, when it flipped bullish again, you would have gotten in here and rode it all the way up until it flipped bearish over here. So it doesn't always work out like this, though. This is kind of a perfect trade or two here, but it's not always like that. So I want you to don't just use this by itself. Use your common sense, use other indicators, things like that, and have an exit strategy at all times. Respect your stop losses, that kind of thing. So what's special about this as opposed to moving averages? Well, what's good is that it really flips. I mean, it's abrupt. So the candles are definitely either below the dots or definitely above them. There's no in between, right? It really stops and reverses abruptly. So you're either for sure that it's a bullish trend or momentum, or it's not. There's kind of no in between with this. Now, you might think that's a limitation. Maybe it is, but it can also be an advantage. As opposed to, let's say, moving averages. If this were a moving average line with candles on top of it, sometimes it's hard to tell. Are the candles above the line, above the moving average, or below it? Maybe it's kind of right on top of it. All right. That could also happen with RSI, stochastics, things like that. You could have a line that's gradually moving and you're not really sure whether it's above or below something. With this, it really is either or, right? Kind of binary, you might call it. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing. I also like it because it seems to work pretty well in terms of I'm not going to say predicting. There's no predicting here. But it seems to catch the uptrend pretty quickly. Like the candles are below the dots, which again are not really dots. They're plus signs. They're just very small. But I'll call them dots. The candles are below the dots here. And then as soon as it flipped bullish with the candle above that first dot there, it did go up. I mean, it seems to work fairly consistently, although no guarantees, right? Again, I don't recommend just using this by itself. But in some cases, it really caught that uptrend nicely, at least with Apple stock on the 1 minute chart in this example. Not always, though. There are no guarantees this will work. So I invite you to consider it. Play around with it not with real money, with virtual or demo trading where there's no real money. So if it doesn't work, you didn't lose anything, at least financially. All right. So I hope this was helpful to you. And if you liked it, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I want to thank you for watching and listening. I will talk to you again soon.